Hello chess friends and welcome to Yozarov's chess channel and welcome to the round 4 of the World Championship match between Magnus Carlsen and Fabiano Caruana. And yesterday I didn't make a video of this World Series. I had a really tough day at work. I worked 16 hours and I didn't have the opportunity to watch their game, and as I came home I watched the game a little bit, and I thought, well, I didn't miss so much while working. So I think, well, this yesterday's game was the most boring game of this four game that they two have been played so far, and well, I don't know. They really know this deep lines of any openings they choose. They're playing really like computers. They're not creating many weaknesses in their openings. I don't know. I'm afraid this 12 games will end all in a draw. So something has to change in order for someone to win at least one game. And I don't know who's gonna win the first game, but they're playing really as computers, and this stuff can really be boring. What I don't like is always this pumping up of the games. It's like um, when I watch other media or stuff like that, they're always pumping it up. Wow, this was played, this was played. He can play this, he can play that. I don't know. I'm really, maybe it's just my opinion, but I'm really not satisfied with these outcomes of these games. I really am expecting a little bit more from the two of them, and it's like this boxing matches. When you see boxing matches, they always pronounce it like this is the match of the century, and they always want to pump it up like that. And I think they do that with this match also between Magnus Carlsen and Caruana, and I think they can play really better, and I hope they will, in order to for us to watch really a nice well, a nice and sharp game. So let's see the yesterday's game. We had here c4 by Magnus Carlsen, and what he chose here in this game, he chose the reversed Sicilian. It's an English opening, basically. It's called by because you play as white, but it's really in reversed Sicilian that he played two times with black in this match series against Fabiano Caruana. So he plays the exact same move order, of course reversed. You see he plays a sort of Sicilian style here, as he played these two games with black, and now Caruana plays e5. So you see in the two Caruana games in which he was white, we had e4 and then c5. So, and of course now Carlsen goes knight on c3. In with black he played knight on c6 in the two games. So he plays really symmetrical and similar, as I said, really a reverse Sicilian we have here. So knight on f6, and now knight on f3. This e4 is really not a problem, because you can then go knight on g5, create a double attack on the e4 pawn. So now knight on c6, and now we have g3, d5 now by Caruana, and now we have sort of a reversed well, dragon Sicilian defense. We have here, if you could just imagine the position here with black, this is similar to this dragon Sicilian. So this would be sort of a dragon Sicilian attack by Carlsen, and here we have this d5 by Caruana. I would love really to watch a game between the two of them if they play. Let's flip the board a little bit. If Caruana maybe would have played here, let's start from the beginning, e4, and then Carlsen plays maybe his line of the Sicilians, c5, then knight on f3, and if he chooses here again knight on c6, again with this similar idea. I would love Caruana go maybe for this immediate attack here with d4. This leads and in such variations, and then maybe with d6, and then in maybe a more sharp line. We saw in the two games that Caruana has played, we had this Rosolimo attack with knight on knight on f3, knight on c6, and then bishop to b5, which leads into a more positional game. And of course, this is not well, this is not an aggressive line, it's a more positional line for white and for black. And of course, there are not so many tactical possibilities in this line. So let's go now back to the game. And as I said, after knight on f3, knight on c6, we had g3 and now d5. So now Caruana chooses as black the more direct line with immediately breakthrough in the center. So we have c takes, d5, knight takes on d5, bishop on g2, of course. And now we have bishop on c5. Very aggressive by Caruana, and here we have castling. Now there is this line maybe with knight on e5 immediately. Then if black takes, you see, if black takes immediately here on e5, then we have d4. But of course, knight on c3 can be played immediately, which leads to the similar line. We have here b takes, c3, knight takes on e5, maybe d4, and with this double attack on the bishop and the knight. Bishop to d6, d takes e5, then bishop takes on e5, and then maybe queen to c2. At least this line leads into, well, into a non-symmetrical system. Maybe white has the ability here to create an attack on the b file. Of course, black will play the move c6, but at least the position is not symmetrical, as I said, and can lead into a more sharp game. But here we had by Carlsen first the move d3. He chooses here the more positional line, and now we have rook on e8. Carlsen played now here bishop on d2. Maybe a more aggressive line for him would be maybe knight on d5, queen takes on d5, and then bishop on d2. Well, black has this problem to get rid of this diagonal, get away from this discovered attack on the bishop. So this could be maybe a better line. Of course, maybe black will continue with moves as h6, but here we have maybe bishop on c3, which now is really a threat to take knight on e5. So black would maybe have to try here, go queen on d6. Okay, I'm not saying that this is much better, but I think this is a line which leads into a more complex situation here. And well, I think this immediately trade of pieces lead often into a draw situation. So we have here by Carlsen bishop on d2, and now Caruana took simply here the knight on c3, and we have here bishop takes on c3. Maybe white can also do b takes c3 in order, as I said, in order to get at least some open files. I'm not saying well, I don't like to watch these games through a computer evaluation. I'm just saying I would like to watch the game through a more human point of view of the chess game. You see, at least you have this semi-open b file, and I think you can do at least some attacking chances here, and I simply like more this line. Although of course black can play also rook on b8, but I simply like this variation more. It doesn't lead into this simply trades of pieces. And we have here with this b takes on c3, we have supported here this d4 pawn, and of course the knight and the bishop cannot go on this d4 square. And in this line, after bishop takes on c3, Caruana immediately uses this idea to create some more piece trades. Of course, he's playing with black. He wants to simplify the position, and he doesn't mind here even to trade another piece. So of course he wants to trade the knights now. Of course, knight takes on d4 is not good, because you get then e takes d4, and you get this bishop blocked out. Meanwhile, we can maybe then create some attacking possibilities through the f-file or something like that. But this bishop after d4 would be really weak, so I don't think that would be a good line for white. So after knight on d4, Carlsen chooses now here to go b4, and okay, he get now tempo. We have bishop to d6, rook on b1. Of course, this knight takes on d4 doesn't bring also so much, because after e takes d4, we have bishop takes on d4, but Caruana can take then here the bishop on g6, h takes g6, and then again a simplification of the position. The b4 pawn is attacked, maybe a3 and stuff like that. This is again a good line for black, because as I said, black is always trying to simplify the position and of course to equalize the position, and this would be also such a line. So after rook on b1, Caruana took the knight on f3, bishop takes on f3, we have here a6, and now a4 by Carlsen, and now Caruana plays c6. Again, I'm always trying in their games to find something at least a little bit complicated. Here Carlsen chooses again a more positional approach. Rook on e1. Okay, I'm not really clear with this idea. What's the idea behind this move? Basically, you want to bring your rooks onto open and or semi-open files. I don't know if his idea is go maybe e6 d4 and tries to open some files. Of course, we want to bring the rook on the same file as the black's rook here on the e file, but the potential trade of rooks, I don't see that's gonna happen in a couple of moves. So I really loved here this more aggressive line with b5. So if a takes b5, we have a takes b5 also, then bishop maybe to d7, then b takes c6, and then if bishop takes on c6, bishop takes on c6, b takes c6, and maybe queen to c2. Although black has his possibilities maybe with rook here on h6, but I think that can be met with h4. The possibility maybe for black to play here h4, and I like this idea. We have at least a simple target, and it has to be defended. Of course, white has to be careful here with his like square problems around the king, but I think simple king on g2 can also do some can be used as a defensive resource. Well, at least as I said, we have created at least one weak pawn here, and of course you see this pawn is on a dark square, which is also an object of an attack of this bishop on c3. Maybe, as I said, maybe the evaluation by the computer is not better, but I simply love to play on the simple weaknesses. And there is this thing. I went to my capital here in Croatia. I went to Zagreb, and I heard this one grandmaster. He said he was teaching a chess student, and he was teaching him, and he told him this sentence. He told him, if you create one weakness, then you're slightly better. If you create two weaknesses and you have none, you will probably win the game. And I really memorized this chess lesson by him, and of course when I play, I try to get at least one weakness in my opponent's position. So here, of course, the target would be simply here the c6. As I said, maybe Carlsen was afraid of the like square problems in this line, but okay. Here after rook on e1, we had here bishop on d7, and b5 is now really not an option. If we play now b5, that can be met here with a takes b5, and then again with the same idea, we have again this possibility to take after b takes on c6 with the bishop, or if black takes now with the c pawn, that's even better. I think if white takes now on b7, we have rook on immediately attacking here this bishop. If bishop now takes, then we can simply take this pawn, and this would be a really annoying pass pawn because he can also go here on a3, and now it's, I think, too late to play the move b5. It's really not an option anymore. So here, after bishop on d7, Carlsen played here e3, again creating here a flexible position with this pawns. Of course, maybe preparations are to play e4 and then d4, so to get this e pawn advance here, then maybe try to play even e5. So in order to avoid it here, Caruana plays queen on f6, which is of course challenging now the bishop. The bishop is also of course challenging the queen, but here this bishop on f3 is a little bit loose, it's a little bit stuck. The queen is stuck here on the defense of this bishop on f3. So now Carlsen plays here bishop on e4, gets this bishop more centralized, of course, with possibilities maybe, of course, to play queen to h5, creating some weaknesses with g6 or maybe h6 moves. So now Caruana, as you see, he goes for the simple idea to trade even more pieces, and if of course you trade more pieces, the position gets more equal. You don't have this tactical ideas anymore. So we have here queen on f3, bishop takes on e4, and now queen on f6. Caruana managed to get even here a queen trade. Now we have g takes on f6, and we have here d takes on e4. So now the position is really equal. Basically what black has to do is get this pawn weak. It has to be, if now white manages to push the pawn on b5, that would be really a better position for white. So that's why Caruana played b5 himself. He is really leaving this bishop simply onto the defense of this b4 pawn. So we have here rook on d1, first the attack on the bishop. Now we have bishop on f8, and now we have a takes b5, a takes b5, and now king on g2. King on f1 is really not so good because we cannot go with our king here maybe on e2, get the king more centralized, because we get an rook on a1. So a2, pardon me, and the king cannot go into the game through these squares, and of course that's also Caruana's problem. He cannot go maybe with the king here through the squares e7 and maybe d7 here, and try here to create a pass pawn on the queen side. So as I said, this is an equal game. You cannot really play with the king here actively, and that's the problem. If you could really play with your king somehow and try to go and attack some pawns, this would be of course a better line for both of them, but of course, as you see, that's really not possible. So we have here, after king on g2, rook from e to d8, rook from d to c1, creating here the simple attack on this c6 pawn, king on g7, and now bishop on e1. Now black has to react, and he plays rook on c8. You see now black's and white's problems. Black has this weak pawn here on c6, and white has a problem here with this pawn on b4. So now we have rook on c2, rook on a4. Of course, now this pawn is double attacked, so it's really deflecting here this rook and this bishop. They cannot play, they cannot go somewhere, and because of course you lose then the pawn on b4. So we have here now king on f3, h5, and now king on e2. Now the king has come finally on this e2 square. Now you see rook on a1 is not possible anymore. So we have here now king on g6, h3, and now f5. So Carlsen now finds a really nice move, the Roche move, of course. He first takes here, of course, on f5. After king takes on f5, now f3, and he will be able here to kick away the king here from e4. If black tries e4 himself, then he can get here g4, so this would be really annoying then. So of course, after bishop to e7 and e4, he gets simply with his king, and he doesn't want to weaken anymore this pawn structure here. He just waits white here to play somehow, and then create a 3-on-2 situation here on the king side, and we have here then a situation 2-on-1 pawns on the queen side. As I said, this was simply a draw. Now they two play a couple moves: bishop on d2, bishop on d6, and now rook from b to c1. Now of course they agreed to a draw because there is no way here for white to take. Black has many options. He can go even rook on a6, he can go also maybe with his king here. So of course, if white loses here this pawn, this would be a problem, but they can basically play for a trade of pawns here. And as I said, this is the position in which they agreed to a draw. I don't think that this was really a dynamic game. I think they have to improve if someone wants to at least create one win in this match game, and it would be tough because you see they play really like computers. And let's see what's gonna happen in the next matches. So you can also watch all of my Magnus Carlsen versus Fabiano Caruana games, and you can also watch my best chess games of all time series. And of course, you can also subscribe to my channel. Thanks you for watching, guys, and chess is the best.